episode number 54. I'm Josh. That over there, the guy that, something, let's pretend I said something really jokey. Brandon.
Yeah, something really witty that just fell flat on your face trying to do. Yep, we got you. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Happy Friday evening and night to some of you. It's good to be back. Josh, how has your day been? How has your week been? Anything exciting?
Other than taking the kids to the dentist, nah. That was
Gotcha.
the highlight of my week. It's summer vacation. There's no work to be done. So
Yeah, I don't know what that's like. I wish.
never
There are
been to
times where I
school?
really wish there are times I wish I kind of followed through and became a teacher because I could get the benefits of the summer break and, Christmas vacation, all those good things. But nope, I did not do that.
Now, paycheck wise, it's absolutely garbage. That's why I gotta do this thing here to, hold the fort down, pay the bills and whatnot.
No, I got you. But so would you like to tell everybody what the show is about tonight, sir?
Tonight's episode is about none other than the people that make you feel through music. That's right,
Yep.
those guys that put together wonderful compositions to help guide your emotions through film and television. They're called composers. And they do a lot of work. And I think in most people cases they are sorely underappreciated.
Oh, absolutely. And we've talked about composers a few times. We've spoken about the musical soundtracks of films and all those good things, but we never really dove into what makes like the importance of composing. And like there's something that I learned in film school about composing, and I think it's a neat trick. There's a you know the composition of music in any kind of movie or TV show is to set the mood for the person watching it. It is to really help them relate to what they're watching. And I got a friend of mine to get into horror films by just hitting the mute button, getting rid of all the score, all the ambience, all the sound effects, everything else, and she was able to watch an entire movie just with the captions on. Didn't jump once. Watch the same movie with the music and everything else. And I could see her getting tense and more edgy. So I mean, music has a bigger effect than I think a lot of people really give it credit. So I'm actually very excited about talking about this tonight.
Well, I am not exactly an expert on musical composition. Love music, right? I love scores. Musical scores are awesome when done well. And certain pieces are absolutely iconic when it comes to, film and television. And you're probably going to hear a lot of the same names said, quite a few times tonight. I think that's pretty fair to say. But other than that, I am little confession here. I'm not a musician. Lucky Boys Confusion said it best. I play the microphone. That's my thing.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
I will hand over the reins of this conversation to you, sir, and guide us through this evening of composers.
Okay. Well, you see, you have certain composers that are mainstays in the film industry. You have Hans Zimmer, you have John Williams, you have a bunch of people that are just iconic when it comes to like what they really bring forth. I mean, if you think of any Tim Burton theme, what's the the music and everything else? That is one thing in Tim Burton's movies. It's such an iconic. A lot of the scores are very iconic. So when you watch these movies, like when you think of like Danny Elfman, he has like that really bassy kind of music. I mean, you can hear it in things like the Batman theme and like the Beetlejuice theme. Uh, there's a lot of these movies that he really improves upon, especially with like I guess A Nightmare Before Christmas. With all of his music in that, like you can hear it. Like they all have their own signature. John Williams doing what, like bringing forth what he brought forth with the Star Wars theme. I mean, you have these people, Hans Zimmer working with Christopher Nolan, do the Dark Knight trilogies and everything else that he works with works with Christopher Nolan on. And these composers will really help you get into the mood of these films.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it in a lot of different sections. The eerie music from when the couple in Beetlejuice are in, the afterlife, and they're walking down the hallway, and they have the tense music of like just them checking everything out. Or the scene where Gina Davis like walks through a door and she ends up in a desert, and the giant sandworm appears, and you just like hear that tense music. I mean, everything that that Danny Elfman put into this movie, it is just, you cannot watch these movies, any Tim Burton movies, and not think of Danny Elfman. You can't watch a Christopher Nolan movie and not think of Hans Zimmer. A lot of Steven Spielberg or George Lucas films, you can't watch them and not think of, oh God, excuse me, John Williams. So it's just like there are iconic composers. Now, while there are some very famous composers that have a great, great repertoire and like great resume when it comes to their films, bad music can absolutely destroy your film. Like it can actually detach you from the film. And I mean, you have John Barry, which John Barry is a prolific director, but he has had moments where it's just like, you don't know what the hell he was thinking. But John Barry's music, to me, it all sounds the same. I can hear a John Barry score. I'm like, oh, that's John Barry. And it's like listening to Nickelback to me. It's like the same chords over and over and over. That's all I hear when I hear Nickelback. But I mean, Josh, what do you like? I mean, what kind of examples can you think of?
Examples of
Like good or bad, good or
okay, good
bad
or bad, good
music
or bad.
composers.
Okay, well, I'll take this way back to when I was a kid, and the first musical, excuse me, the first musical score that really jumped out at me, the first one that I really noticed, was from Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Danny Elfman,
Okay.
as we've mentioned, especially when it comes as he relates to working with Tim Burton, but the whole, I don't know, there was a certain circusy atmosphere too, with just the way everything was happening from the opening number with the Rube Goldberg machine, and all the way throughout, just the way that it. Sorry, my microphone is doing magical things, and it
Okay.
shouldn't be. But anyway, and to see him play such an influential role in how I would feel about some of my favorite movies, like you said, Beetlejuice. Oh my God, Batman, and up to and including The Simpsons.
Okay.
The Simpsons theme.
Yeah.
The crazy part about all of it is, the guy, he's doing music scores for major films, right? And then this little cartoon from Fox is like, hey, we need a theme song. And what happens? They get one of the best composers of scores to put together an iconic theme song for this cartoon show, and to move away from that particular thread, television, The Simpsons is probably one of the few TV shows, especially one that's it's run as long as it has, that has basically kept an orchestra, a full freaking orchestra on speed dial, just in case they need huge musical numbers or
Yeah.
big musical moments. Who does that? The
Simpsons.
That's it. Everything else is, I don't know, it feels like it comes from a can, you know? You just so generic with the, okay, that's the drama music. But The Simpsons, they're bringing it full throttle with every musical piece in every episode that requires it. And say what you want about the quality of The Simpsons over the years, whether it's been on decline, like a lot of people think, or whether it's maintained its somewhat edge, I guess, even though by today's standards it's hardly edgy. But
Yeah.
when it comes to music, they are innovators, and with this particular subject itself, compositions added to themes. You know, can you imagine another show that's like, you know what? This season has 24 episodes, and we're going to have 18 different, closing credits songs.
Yeah.
And we're going to pay for it all. That's just nuts. But it's also a testament to the power of, a good piece of composed music. They wouldn't do that sort of thing if they didn't feel it added to the experience of the episode. Otherwise, it's just a waste of money.
Absolutely.
But throwing it on the end credits is just, it's that sublime experience that makes all the difference between a great show and a legendary show. And I think when it comes to television, The Simpsons, not to keep, kissing that yellow butt, but it's one of the few shows that makes full use of any type of musical composition.
Yeah, no, and I absolutely agree with you there. And that's the thing, though. It's like you have a lot of these shows in The Simpsons with their composition, with them having an actual orchestra on standby. Excuse me. So sorry. With them having an orchestra on standby, it does a lot for the mood of the show. And I haven't watched The Simpsons in a few years. I really haven't watched a whole lot of TV in a few years. But the thing is I remember growing up, and a lot of their scores were actually, they had ways of getting you into watching the show, getting you into feeling emotions in the show, or even laughing at the show. Because The Simpsons actually, it's not all just like laughs and everything. There actually are serious moments in the show. There is an episode, I believe, where Homer Simpson is trying to get away from the power plant, or he's like recalling how he ended up getting a job at the power plant. And Mr. Burns leaves him with this mural that's in front of his face at all times. And it's a mural that reads, I think, something like, "Don't forget you're here forever." And you see this transition over time of him working at the power plant, where he's filled that wall up with pictures of Maggie. And in those, like, the mural is now like, he's got pictures all over the place, but instead of it saying it something like, "Don't forget you're here forever," it spells "Do it for her." And, the score that they used for that one scene is actually, actually did draw emotion. Like, actually did, it was touching. But you have movies that the score, first off, we talked about this movie before. A friend of mine, Shanna, just messaged me asking me if I've seen this movie, The Room by Tommy Wiseau. If you want to talk about a horrible, horrible, horrible soundtrack that makes no sense at all, that is just as much of a mess as the movie is itself. The Room is your go-to movie. It is. It doesn't attract anything. It doesn't really attract any attention or focus or desire to really want to sit through the movie, and actually kind of takes you out of the more than the movie itself does. And I'm going to get some shit over this one. I love this movie, but the original Dracula with Bela Lugosi, the original movie had no music in it. None. They went back and they scored this movie, and it's horrible. Like screechy noises and everything else. It just doesn't really. I don't know. It takes you out of this what would be a masterpiece of a movie without the music. If not masterpiece, a very iconic film. But yeah, there's a few. Honestly, there's a few composers that I just, if they're scoring movies, I can't watch the movie. I'm a movie connoisseur, as it were, Josh. You know that.
Snob. You mean? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a guy you might know this, but Brandon and I, we talk pretty frequently because other than being, podcast co-hosts, we're also co-writers, and more importantly than that, we're friends. At least that's what we tell everybody. So when we talk, off air, we're just kind of letting it fly, and things come out that maybe normally we wouldn't say on the show. Well, that I normally wouldn't say. One of us would not say on the show. But we all know that Brandon has expressed a particular disdain for a certain 2016 film.
Yep.
And yeah, that came up again today. Was it today or yesterday?
Yesterday.
Okay,
yesterday. There was actually yesterday. I'll let you tell everybody about this.
Oh yeah, we're just having a good conversation about movies, as we tend to do, which is one of the reasons why we started this show to begin with. But out of nowhere, it seems, we take this hard swerve into, oh, and by the way, the Ghostbusters remake really sucks, and next thing you know, 45 minutes goes by, and it's nothing but how much Brandon hates this movie. And he actually said nice things about a couple of the people in it. And I completely wholeheartedly agree with his limited praise that he actually did give out. But if you want to call Brandon a film snob, I think the shoe fits.
I'm really not, though. Dude, I've watched the Sharknado movies, for Christ's sake, and I actually enjoy them. I've watched Velocipaster, for crying out loud. I laughed my ass off at Velocipaster. Cannibal the Musical, okay? Troma Productions. I could not stop laughing at that movie. These are movies that people will not willingly sit through on most days. You have to really dumb yourself down to watch these, but I go in them just thrilled to watch it. Santa Jaws. I mean, come on.
Born in the Mafia and Born in the Mafia 2 back to back. So
I turned the first one off. I couldn't do it. I'm happy that a movie got made in Jacksonville again. I really am.
Yeah, right.
But trying to pass Jacksonville off as them
Moscow.
Being in Russia and Moscow. I couldn't do it. In Moscow. Like, this is going on. Great. Well, why is everything in English? What is at the Jacksonville International Airport? How were you guys not arrested? Try that out here at LAX. I swear to God, you're not getting out. You're going to end up in handcuffs, and all your film equipment is going to be confiscated. But but no, what he's talking about is he is talking about Ghostbusters 2016. Of course, that is my kryptonite in the worst way possible. Like, you hear people say it's like, "Oh my God, cookies are my kryptonite. I just fall for them." Like, no, no, I don't fall for a damn thing with that movie. The actresses, the women are very talented actresses. I will say that Leslie Jones actually is very funny. I don't know what happened. Um, yeah, we've talked about that movie a few times, so I'm not going to go into it because you and I already had this conversation yesterday. But
That's a topic for a different time.
but it's just like, and the composing in that film, I guess, matches the movie. It's not good. The music is atrocious. I mean, it's just like uh, like the original Ghostbusters, like their music, like the use of the wind instruments and everything else, the acoustics, it all just seemed to flow perfectly with the theme of the movie. It gave it like kind of this eerie, or not, yeah, I guess acoustic string instruments rather. It gave it like this eerie kind of feeling. Like the library when you hear like that light piano, you know, taking over and like the wind instruments playing. That was some creepy shit, man. Um, the poor librarian's being stalked by the ghost. Like, I mean, that really sets the mood. But there's Jaws. I mean, like Jaws, the score in Jaws is beautifully done. And even though, like, the theme from Jaws, it is, I think, one of the top like 20 or top 30 movie themes of all time.
No doubt, no doubt.
It may actually be in top 10 right there next to Halloween. But it's like at least Jaws, like it really pulled out like that dread. When that girl is swimming in the beginning of the movie, the very first victim that Jaws claims, um, that we know that Jaws claims. That whole scene where she's like in the water and you kind of hear that little bassy, that tone. And then she's getting attacked, and it's just like, my God, like, it's terrifying. Nightmare on Elm Street. It's another one. These are movies that have great soundtracks and great composition in the music department, but they switch over to the likes of like a Uwe Boll film. But I digress.
Nope.
But Josh, go ahead.
Something interesting though.
What's up?
Horror movies. The score in horror movies. There are, it's easy to say that film scores play an important role in cinema as whole. But would it be fair to say that horror movies especially are, in some cases, very reliant on the score itself to not only create an atmosphere, but to get people ready to be scared?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But you see, like, horror films and comedy, I look at them as two cousins in cinema when it comes to like the genre, because they both have like the same method. They both have like the times where, like, in horror films, it's building up tension, and then nothing happens. So you're like, okay, great. Like, they're both roller coasters. Then it builds up more tension. Again, nothing happens. Builds up more tension. Nothing happens. Then out of nowhere, bam! Something's meant to like invoke terror. Movie, like, with and the music helps a lot with this. The music really adds to this tension. Now you move on from that. You look over at like a comedy. The music has a lot to it because it builds and builds and builds towards a joke, and it may not end with that joke. So you're like, oh, okay, well. And it builds towards another joke, and then bam, like it's like it goes quiet, and then out of nowhere you start laughing your ass off, and the music also has a large part to play with this. Um, that's why I like either write like horror films or write comedies. Even for Christ's sake, my dramas have dick and fart jokes in them usually. Like I can't write a serious drama, but yeah, like I mean, let's see. I had a list here with that I put together, and I think some of the worst. I only really put together a few of them, but some of like the worst music that I've ever heard. Um, the first one is the 4D Man. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this movie, but you know it's a 50s sci-fi film, and it's actually really good. The film is really good, but the music is just horrible. You have a story about a scientist experimenting with a matter transmitter, and then it just keeps getting interrupted by a loud, banal, like swing band score kind of deal. It's like big band music. It doesn't fit. Um, and it's like the producer pretty much came out of like this whole thing where he's like, oh, well, give me something different than the usual creepy sci-fi stuff, and here we go. Well, it was just really bad stuff. Um, The Woman in White. It's an older film, but again, really bad music. And it's just constant. The music is it's just like this droning music. Like when something dramatic happens, the music has no effect. It doesn't pull any emotions, no nothing. And this is where I get a lot of hell from people. Is The Last of the Mohicans, a great movie. It was actually a very, very good movie. I know that there was some controversy with Daniel Day-Lewis playing, the Indian character, but you know, I don't even know where to start with this, but it's like the composite, like it's like the theme of the movie is just constantly on repeat, like a broken record, and it is just rage inducing to me. It's hard. It's like this. It creates this homicidal rage in me where I want to find the composer and help him shuffle off this mortal coil. I don't because it's illegal, but I want to. And then, without looking at my list, of course, Dracula from the 1930s, which I've already went through that one. But I mean, Josh, do you have like any examples that you can think of where you watched a movie and the music took you out of it?
You know what? Not off the top of my head. I was, when I was thinking about doing this episode, I was had more along the lines of music to celebrate in mind. I hadn't even thought about the stuff that really takes you out of the film.
Okay. Well, we can switch. We can switch it over to the whole celebratory side of things because there is a lot more to talk about with that. It's really rare to watch a movie. Usually if a movie's bad, it's bad because it's just bad. Bad writing, plot hole riddled, or whatever. It's just bad. But there's plenty of movies that we can discuss with great, great, great musical composition. And it's stuff that we can celebrate. And I know that in the poster that I put up, it's like the prolific composers, people that compose like the Joker or the Tim Burton movies or whatever. Like, I mean, it's so. I mean, go ahead. Like, what would you like to actually celebrate in lines of good composition?
You know what? We did a little bit of a dive on Danny Elfman, so I think it only appropriate that we give some other people their due. In particular, we can talk about God. I'm sorry. My microphone levels keep bouncing up and down on their own. This problem has returned. I have no idea why.
Fun.
That's when you hear me go quiet for a while, it's because I'm trying to keep my levels down so I'm not blasting everybody's eardrums. So that's of course it wouldn't be it wouldn't be one of our podcasts if something wasn't, goofing up every now and then. So
Oh yeah.
let's talk about probably arguably, and I don't think too many people are going to argue this against this, the single most prolific film composer of all time, John Williams.
Yep.
Is there any like iconic film from the last 40 years that he doesn't have his fingerprints all over?
Yeah, I mean, probably not.
You said Jaws. Jaws was, of course, a very iconic theme. Everybody knows Jaws. Everybody knows the sharks there. It's entered the zeitgeist and has become embedded in our psyches. But
No, absolutely.
a lot of his music has. Indiana Jones.
Yep. And that is how my dog got his name, by a John Williams score.
Someone once said, I don't remember who it was, but that you could listen to the score from Empire Strikes Back, and
Yep.
it's basically like watching the movie, because if you've seen the movie, then you know what's happening every time one of those scores plays.
No, yeah. I mean, he's been he's been working with Steven Spielberg since '74. I mean, it's like both Spielberg and George Lucas. He's worked on both of their main franchises. The Indiana Jones films, the Star Wars films, Home Alone. I mean, he's worked with Amblin Entertainment. Like, he was what was Superman, E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Time, the third time, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, and I believe actually some of the Harry Potter films, if I'm not mistaken, the earlier entries. So, but he's done a lot. Like, he's even gone into like working for things like football, Summer Olympics. I mean, he's done so much stuff with his career that there are things that you cannot watch and not hear John Williams. Even Gilligan's Island was something that he did some music for. But oh my God, I mean, the guy's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But and then moving on to other areas outside of John Williams. There's oh God, what was her name? I cannot think of how to pronounce it. But she she had actually gone on to score the movie Joker from 2000, what was it, like 19, I think, when it came out, right?
Joker, yes.
Yeah, like 2019. So yeah, the one with the Joaquin Phoenix. And I had her in the poster. I cannot. Let me see if I can find a. Bear with me.
Talking about Hildur Guðnadóttir. Iceland Zone. I think you are. see. Let's see. Oh. Okay. I guess Brandon's having a little bit of a technical issue. As am I with this unfortunate audio issue. Brandon,
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I went to go look at something on my on the window where I have the StreamYard account pulled up, and I accidentally hit the X on the internet. So I apologize, guys. But yeah, Hildur. Uh, what that her? No idea how to pronounce it. But but with her, she's she composed the Joker. Like, I mean, she did a great job with it. I mean, it was a fantastic score for Joker. I mean, it really drove you into the mood of the film. It did everything it was supposed to do. But I'm trying to think, like, what else did Cesario? She scored that. I mean, she's new. She's new to the field. She's been a musician since I think almost her entire life. She released her first big solo in 2006. But as far as composing film, she's relatively new to it. And judging from what I've seen, or from what I've heard, she's got she's got a great career ahead of her. She's been composing since around like 2011. But
Hildur Gudnadottir.
Huh?
Hildur Gudnadottir.
Gudnadottir?
Gudnadottir.
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 Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Gudnadottir.
Gudnadottir.
Fuck it. Okay, so
it's simple.
There's my one per show. It's a what?
It's simple Icelandic.
Yeah, I'm not Icelandic.
Fair enough.
So, but either way, I mean, like, I'll just call her Hildur. That's easier for me. Because even looking at her middle name, there's no way I would ever say her name. I would piss her off trying to pronounce her name in front of her. But I was like, with her, she's very, 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 very talented with her composing. Another one. You watch Batman, you think of two different names. You think of Danny Elfman, and you also think of Hans Zimmer. I mean, Hans Zimmer, he's been doing it for years, and he's a frequent collaborator with Christopher Nolan, as I mentioned earlier. But he's been working on things like, what was it, Crimson Tide, Gladiator, Pirates of the Caribbean, the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception. I mean, and, like, pretty much every other Christopher Nolan movie that he's come out with in the last couple of years. But but he's also a very prolific composer. But
a certain score comes to mind that we haven't talked about yet. It's actually one of my favorites. I'm gonna see if I can pull up the This is very okay. Brad Fiedel.
okay.
I'll give you a little bit of a hint at what he's known for. At least what I know him for.
Yeah, Terminator.
Love that score. It is so epic.
Oh yeah. I mean, with him though, like he's known for a lot of, like, this really trying to think of the word that I can I guess God, the more sci-fi approach, sci-fi in action. But I mean, like he's worked on like I mean I know with him like he's worked on The Serpent and the Rainbow, Blue Steel, True Lies, Johnny Mnemonic. Of course, I'm reading this off of Wikipedia, but like I never knew that he did The Serpent and the Rainbow. That's actually new for me. But I mean, you have things like Blue Steel, True Lies. I mean, the score in True Lies was actually it was pretty good. But
Not to knock the score from True Lies. I find it to be mostly forgettable. Again, not to knock it. I don't mean it as an insult in any way, but I think in general it seems that 90, and I think that's a fair estimate, 90% of the musical scores from films and television will be forgotten almost instantaneously when you finish watching.
yeah, and you see, there's one composer that has since passed away. That God, what was his name? This up real quick. Relatively recently that he passed away. James Horner. Oh, that's right. Ennio Morricone, an Italian composer. But with him, he was someone that said that directors in any medium composer films anymore because they want to like go the easy route. I'm thinking like, well, I mean, let's face it, times have changed a little bit. It's nothing like it used to be. It's nothing like it used to be as far as the it's nothing like it used to be where you would go, you'd pitch a script or something like that, and the studio would just throw money at you. A lot of these directors who are around now, who have these composers, have been doing this for the better part of the last 50 years, such as Steven Spielberg, George Lucas. They've been working on things for 40 plus years now. But this Ennio Morricone guy was talking about how he doesn't want the world to go digital or synthetic music or whatever the term was that he used. And I'm thinking like, well, you can still have a good score and have it be that. You don't have to have like a full orchestra at all times. But
Yeah. Hopefully I have my volume issue worked out. But someone, I guess, that comes to mind as maybe a newcomer to the whole being a composer thing is Trent Reznor.
yeah, that's right. I forgot he was getting into the composing film.
Was he just nominated for an Oscar?
I think so.
Let's see. Won 2 Oscars. Best achievement in musical written for motion pictures, original score. So yeah, he won 2 Oscars for scores, one for The Social Network and one for Soul, 2011 and 2021 respectively. And winner of 2 Emmy Awards, both for Watchmen. So maybe new to the whole creating scores thing is a bit of an unfair statement since he's been doing it for a while. But as it relates to some of these other guys that have been in it for decades and decades, and I mean like pre me and pre you, before we were born.
Yeah.
Comparatively speaking, he's kind of a newcomer. But he is already an
No.
established
And that's what I'm talking about. That was like,
winner.
but that's an example I'm talking about. Like, you have you have Hilder with the Joker, right? But then you have Trent Reznor, who is actually fairly, like, he's not young, but he's, like, compared to these guys who are like in their like 80s or 90s or whatever.
And if we're being completely honest, when it comes to Trent Reznor, I don't think we're at the point yet where people will instantly identify him as, oh, he's the guy that did the score for, as much as, oh, that's the guy from Nine Inch Nails.
Yep. Oh, and my mom is listening. Hi, Mom. Welcome to the show. But that's it. I mean, it's like, yeah, Nine Inch Nails. People think of Trent Reznor. They think of Nine Inch Nails. They think of like Closer and Every Day. They think of like his, they think of his music. They don't really think of his composing. But I found while I was talking about that Ennio gentleman, he had a lot to say about the music in Django. And now this is a guy that scored The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The like that theme, the coyote call from the movie. That, yeah. He wrote that. So I mean, he himself has actually come up with a lot of really great soundtracks. But it's one of those deals where it's just, some of these older crowds don't understand that times change. I mean, Tarantino, I think, still absolutely hates digital filmmaking. But there are other directors much like him that still would prefer to use film. I think it's a fantastic art, but it's something where times do change. Arts do evolve. But, it's like composers are the same thing. Like, I mean, at this point, if you're a broke and starving artist filmmaker, speaking from experience here, there are loops you can go through to actually get some audio equipment and compose your own work. I did that for a few things I've like wrote and directed way back when I was in film school. I actually used these programs at the school's library to make some of the soundtracks for my shorts. But hell if I know how to do that now. It's only been like 14 years. But yeah, it's one of those deals where you can also have it sound like an orchestra. You can get like the violin music, and you can actually program the violin music. You can program like the trumpets. You can program the drums and the bass and everything. But the whole art that is there behind like people like John Williams, Danny Elfman, John Williams. Did I say John Williams? I said John Williams. Mm-hmm. John Williams, Danny Elfman, Hans Zimmer, like all them, like the art of what they do. I can only imagine. I couldn't do it. Like conducting 30 plus instruments for the sake of a film and having each instrument do their thing. No. Never.
I can hear it in my head, but that's about it.
Oh, I can hear it in my head, but even in my head, it sounds like it feels like a monkey banging on a drum. I think like music sounds really good, and I start like thinking of like themes, and I'll like play it on my guitar a little bit. And I realize this sounds like a porno soundtrack. Like it doesn't sound like anything romantic. It doesn't sound like anything endearing. It just sounds like, okay, someone's about to go play hide the salami. But for all three of our listeners, you're welcome for the image. But
just a quick side note question. We talked about Trent Reznor, being known as the lead creative force of Nine Inch Nails. And
yeah.
he's, transitioning into, I think, more of doing more film scores.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure 100%. How long do you think it was before Danny Elfman stopped being the guy from Oingo Boingo?
I didn't know he stopped being that guy.
Yeah, where people are like, "Oh, Danny Elfman, the composer," and not
I think
Danny
honestly,
Elfman, the guy from
I
Oingo
think
Boingo.
I think honestly with what he did for Tim Burton, I think that's where he really started getting his traction. I know he's done a few things before Tim Burton. If I remember right, I believe on a report I did for him back in college, he started off as a musician as like a synthesizer, keyboard, or whatever it was back in the 70s before he got into composing some stuff. But I think with his sound now, I think it was really like with Pee Wee's Big Adventure and then going to, what do you call it? Going to like Beetlejuice or like The Simpsons, all that. I think that's where he really started getting his bearings with who he is now.
See, he has one pre-Pee Wee credit for being a composer, and that is for the 1980 cinematic classic Forbidden Zone, starring Gene Cunningham, Marie Pascal Elfman, Virginia Rose, Phil Gordon, etc., etc. Directed by Richard Elfman, written by Richard Elfman. I wonder if there's any relation.
I do not know. Let's see. 83, yeah, Forbidden Zone, then Pee Wee's Big Adventure, and I guess Back to School, whatever that is. Wisdom, don't know that one. Summer School, that's actually one of my guilty pleasure movies.
Wait, did you say?
But then, like,
Back to School?
Summer School in 1987. One of my, like, I mean, I think that movie is absolutely hysterical. But they have things like that's when, like, he did Summer School, like Pee Wee's Big Adventure in 86, Summer School in 87. 88 is when he did Beetlejuice. But then Midnight Run, Big Top Pee Wee, Scrooged, which had a great soundtrack as well. And I think that's where he really started getting into like what he was set to do for the rest of his career. Because I mean, and again, you cannot think of Tim Burton's films and not think of Danny Elfman. Like those two, it is seriously peanut butter and jelly with those two. They just go together. I mean, Batman, Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, The Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, he's done all these things. But Mars Attacks, Men in Black, for Christ's sake. You can hear it's like he's signing it. It's like you can read his signature when you listen to his music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the Men in Black series, like the opening theme song for Men in Black, it just has that, that bass to it that you hear in all of his music. Yeah, it's Spider-Man. Because I mean, yeah, if there's one other person outside of Tim Burton that he works with quite a bit, it is Sam Raimi.
No, wait, you did say Back to School.
No, I said Summer School.
87, Summer School, Back to School in 86.
Yeah. The Back to School is the I'm sorry. The Back to School thing was I was confused because it was right there next to Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
Back to School, classic, Rodney Dangerfield.
But yeah, so it's like Danny Elfman. He's worked with Tim Burton. He works quite a bit with Sam Raimi. So it's just like these are, Yeah, I think also with Guillermo del Toro. I believe he also works with him quite a bit.
He is your ear god, nerds. And
so
John Williams is your what's above a god.
I don't know.
Neither do I. So
I've never met God to ask him to. I've never met God to ask to speak to his manager. So.
Okay, John Williams is your ear god. Danny Elfman's your ear demigod.
And like one of my favorite things from Danny Elfman one of my favorite things of his is the theme for Tales from the Crypt.
Oh yeah,
But
that's
see,
some
that's what I'm
good
saying.
stuff.
There's so yeah, it is, and there's so many things that he's contributed towards like a film itself. And you had these guys that have been doing this for years, but you have the ones that are so prolific that you instantly know them. Hans Zimmer, I think you'd have to really know his work to really know that it is in fact Hans Zimmer. But Danny Elfman is one of those people where you'll hear his music and you're like, "Oh God, this is so familiar! Like this sounds like the same kind of music that they used in like Beetlejuice or whatever, or Batman, or." And it's because it is Danny Elfman, and they're all different, but it's enough to where you know that this is him. Oh, and he is also directing. He's also composing the soundtrack for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Well, I guess that makes sense because that's the Sam Raimi film. So,
Are there any modern scores that really jump out at you, say within the last, I don't know, 10 years? We'll say 10 years. You already talked about
last,
Joker, so other than that,
let's see. The Hangover. It's not like exactly like it's more than 10 years, but still, The Hangover is like one of the films where it really kind of just stuck with me. Under the Skin, I thought had great music to it. Um, sorry. Yeah, but like Under the Skin had great music to it. I mean, it was very, very eerie music, and it, you know, kind of matched like the weird vibe that the movie had. The Hateful Eight had amazing music to it.
okay.
Black Panther.
Should should we
But
say? You know what? I'm just gonna say 21st century from the 21st century. I'll open it up for you because I know
Up,
somebody is gonna get
the
all
music in Up was beautiful.
yeah. Of course, everything about it was beautiful. Everything about Pixar is beautiful, except unnecessary sequels. But that's a topic for a different day. I know somebody is gonna get upset if we don't mention the Lord of the Rings had such brilliant music. Yes, so much so that it almost goes without saying, right? So here's us
Oh
almost
yeah,
not saying it, but actually saying it.
yeah, and like Lord of the Rings, like my tolerance for the movie being what it is, the music, what Howard Shore did for that for those films. I think his name was Howard Shore. Look those up real quick. I believe Howard Shore was the composer. Howard Shore. Yep, go me. Damn, I'm good. Howard Shore. Yeah, like his musical score for Lord of the Rings was actually very well done. The Hours um, had great music to it, but and let's not forget Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh yeah, yeah, great stuff there.
But
Because it had to not only the a lot of musical composers, and I don't just mean film composers. I mean just people that make music.
yeah,
Don't get enough credit for certain tasks that they're given. And one of
Yeah.
those things that they have to do is not only get a feel for each and every scene that they're, putting music together for, but they also have to do it in a certain context.
Yep.
So when you're doing something like Pirates of the Caribbean, there is, of course, the adventure aspect, the love aspect. There's all sorts of emotion involved when it comes to the different characters.
Oh yeah.
But there's also the context of the time period that you're in. Now, it would be easy to say take a whole bunch of modern conveniences, right? To make a larger than life, epic, full scale musical piece with synthesizers and da 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 da, right? But to capture a certain authenticity, to help build and maintain the illusion of, the story you're watching, you have to make sure that the music is not necessarily period correct, but definitely has a feel for the period that you're representing.
Yeah.
And I think Pirates of the Caribbean is one of those films that did it very well. And the funny thing is about Pirates of the Caribbean, I was extremely late to the game when it came to that movie. Not because I didn't like Johnny Depp, not because really, if anything, other than I thought Pirates of the Caribbean, that's a freaking Disney ride. How's that going to be a good movie? And the next thing you know, it starts getting all sorts of buzz, and I'm like, what? What? Best Picture for a movie based on a ride? No. And then it started winning awards, and my mind was blown. So about a year after it came out, I sat down and I said, you know what? I guess I'll give this cheesy flick a shot. And as soon as it was over, if there was a Twitter at the time, my tweet would have been, "Oh, that's why. Okay, I get it now."
Yeah. Well, I mean, and there's what was the movie I was watching the other day? You know what? We had talked about this before. It was actually a recommendation of mine for our recommendation of the week that we've not done in a long time. But Willy's Wonderland. The composing in that movie, I thought was brilliant. Like, the movie was creepy, but it was hysterical. And the music just matched it. Like, completely matched it. Excuse me. Sorry, yawning over here. I haven't really slept much today. Be a fun night at work tonight. But it's you have a lot of movies where I don't know why, but the music just enhances everything about it.
Yeah.
And Willy's Wonderland, like, that's a horror comedy, but Shaun of the Dead had a fantastic score to it. And same with Hot Fuzz, and same with what was it the God, what was the third entry in that series?
The third
The End
entry
of the
of
World.
and World's End or World's.
World's End, I think. Yeah, that's the one where they're like doing the whole pub crawl thing.
Yeah.
But like all those movies, they all have great soundtracks to them. I mean, you get just as much fun listening to the soundtrack as you do, watching the movie. I mean, hell, like the opening of Shaun of the Dead, where you see people kind of mimicking like zombie-like motions, and you have that like that sound like the soundtrack going. I mean, it's perfect for that movie. And even then, you had to have these, and not just for movies, but like music also goes the same for trailers. So you have to have the right kind of music for a trailer to really convey the emotion of the show or the movie. And I've got to hand it to Mark. Mark is he's a friend of ours. The he's the audio engineer for a series that we're all working on. And he recently pieced together a trailer for the series. And the music he put into the trailer is perfect for the trailer. It's like the perfect kind of score for it. So the guy does this he doesn't do composing for a living, but he's a re-recording artist. So like with him, like I trust him with a lot of things, namely also with music and anything audio related. And his score for the trailer, and also a score for other things that he's worked on his own project. It's all, it's great. It's really great work. For the short film that myself and another guy, this one guy wrote the original version. I wrote the actual short film version. The Last Hit. Mark is the one that found the music to go into the trailer. He didn't like conduct it. He didn't like put it together, but he found the music, and it just flows with the whole, the short film. So, but yeah, if you have boring music in a trailer, you're not going to want to watch the movie. This doesn't really work. But on that note, I am going to have to get going. Unless there's something you want to say to wrap up your thoughts on this whole matter.
Sure. I'll make this brief. My final thoughts on composers and their work, especially since I still haven't figured out this volume issue. My levels are bouncing all over the place, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, here
for those listening and getting these peaks and valleys. But if you're an aspiring filmmaker out there and you're wondering whether or not you should score your film, I would always say yes, score it. If you're an indie filmmaker, one of the best things you can do, and this goes beyond just, of course, filmmaking, but just as far as life in general. Meet people. If you're looking for someone to score something for a decent rate, go out and meet your local musicians. Believe it or not, no matter where you are, your town has a scene. Whether it's whether or not it's a scene that you like is pretty irrelevant, because you are talking about getting music for your art. You're trying to get their art for your art. But the simplest way to begin this process is to just go out and meet people. Find out who's doing what, where you are. And like I said, it's more than just that. It's, if you get out there and find out who is in your town, who is in your city, and make your connections, a lot of things go smoother, especially when you're trying to find actors and, you know what, at the very least, someone to hold the boom mic. So meet people and do what it takes for you to get your art done. Those are my thoughts. My lasting message.
Okay.
How about you?
Well, I got nothing. Said everything I had to say.
Okay. Well, then why don't you just tell people how to find you on social media when you're not busy getting arrested?
Yeah. On the Facebook link. We can find the WADcast page on Facebook and Instagram, both at the .com/the WADcast. Both pages, you'll see the black banner with the black picture with the white banner that says WADcast in it. You can find me on Instagram, bjacksman82, and that's really about it. So go ahead to our WADcast pages on Instagram and Facebook, like us, follow us. I am currently working on an actual TikTok and YouTube channel itself for the WADcast. So we can actually dive more into things, and you can actually possibly someday see our faces moving. So, Josh, what about you?
And as always, you can find me on Twitter at SkidComic or at WADcastPod or at Semicore Studios, where you can find out all of the awesome things that we're doing here at Semicore Studios, because, you know, things are picking up. And according to my clock, according to my clock, in less than an hour, we are going to have our very first Semicore movie night as we air Stay Tuned live on twitch.tv/SkidComic. And tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, will be the debut, the premiere of episode 1 of a little show called Matt and Josh Make Lists. And that's where myself and my co-host Matt will make lists of stuff. That's it. That's the show. And episode 1 is going to be our favorite sitcom. So there's that to look forward to. With some other stuff set to debut later in the week. It's going to be a busy time here at Semicore Studios. And look forward to having you all there and, you know, sharing in all of this fun goodness. With that being said, I guess it's time for the final message of the week. You know what? I'm not going to fight it anymore. I'm just going to crank this bad boy all the way up. I'll just move a little bit further away from the microphone. Sorry. It's not funny, Brandon.
Oh, my lord.
Why did I make it a midnight movie? I just want to go to bed.
I don't know.
It's gonna be fun. Watch me go into these really weird rants as the movie plays in the chat. It's gonna be dumb. All right, music's playing. Hey everybody, just remember, the only thing standing between you and your dreams is you.
And a microphone.
And a microphone. God. It's 2021. Don't wait till 2022 to make your dreams come true. Don't wait until July to make your dreams come true. Don't wait until June 20th to make your dreams come true. I'm going to give you the 19th to do it the rest of today. That's when you take your first step. That's when you get on the road to doing the thing that you want to do. You might not make it to the top of the mountain on day one. Probably won't. But every journey of 1 trillion miles begins with one step. I updated it for, inflation. So take that step. Immediately. This has been the WADcast episode number 54. I am Josh. That guy over there is Brandon. We have had a pleasure serving you tonight. And we will see you once again next week.